What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and now we are about 12 hours post-op. It's been about 12 hours since I had All-On-4 surgery at FastNewSmile, so it's hard for me to talk, as you can tell, but I actually kind of have a lot of information that I want to share with you guys, anybody who's interested in getting this procedure done. I'm going to try to walk you through everything that happened today and how I'm feeling right now, if I feel up to it. So I'm just going to kind of start talking. We'll see how this goes. I posted a video earlier showing me on the way to the hospital. I was very, very nervous, as is explained in that video. I always am. A very, what they call type A personality, and it's really hard for me to give up control. And actually didn't understand that actually means something in a medical context. When I got to FastNewSmile in Dallas, Texas, which is where I had my implants done this morning, the nurse Trina, who is an angel, if she happens to be watching this, I want you to know that you helped get me through one of the more challenging things I've experienced in life. So thank you very much for your kindness. She let me know that due to my extreme type A personality, they would probably not likely be able to get me completely under. She said that my brain is pretty much going to fight to stay in control constantly, and because they're not using general anesthesia, they were only using midazolam as a sedation protocol, that I would likely not be able to get to sleep through the entire process. When I did this the first time, I was out. Like I never really went to sleep, but there was a good period in the beginning where I either don't remember or I was barely conscious, like almost kind of like I could hear but I couldn't really see, or I was kind of in a void, if that makes any sense. That was not my experience this time. So when they got me on the table, she checked my vitals. My blood pressure was 153/80, which I was very unhappy to see, because it's a lot higher than what the typical readings I try to maintain here. And it made me start doubting whether or not my wrist cuff was any good. And I told her, I was like, oh my God, that's a really bad blood pressure. And she goes, well, baby, you literally just told me that you're afraid of dying, which I did tell them, and I was very afraid I was going to die on the table. She said, so given the fact that you clearly are afraid of death at this moment, I think 153/80 is probably not bad. But they were more than a little bit concerned about my pulse, because of all, I just got through doing oral surgery on 800 milligrams of steroids, which is not a small amount. So my pulse is very rarely ever below, 85, like maybe on a good day I might see a upper 70. So my pulse is always pretty cranked. And so when the doctor came in, he was a little bit concerned, and he knows the stuff that I take, and we have a good relationship. He's familiar. I had to get medical clearance, obviously, so I was cleared. But they had told me to pull out as much of the crap that I was on as possible, and so I had limited that, but not completely. And he said he reiterated that I would probably not be taken far enough under to sleep through the procedure. So once they got me all hooked up to IVs and everything, he explained that, look, this is the way this is going to work. I'm going to try to take you as far under and make you as comfortable as I possibly can while maintaining your vitals. And he said, so I think that your brain is going to require more, your active brain, in order to put you to sleep. I'm afraid it's going to require more drugs than we can safely give you. And so I'm going to take you as low as I can, but if your vitals start to depress, start to become negative, then I'm going to have to, we're not going to be able to continue to hold you at that place. And so they started the procedure and they pushed midazolam and morphine. And so I was kind of curious to see what this was going to feel like. I didn't recall it the last time. And suddenly within a few seconds, I guess, of them pushing both drugs, I felt this wave go over my body. Now, I have heard opiate addicts talk about, my brother was an opiate addict. He died of his addiction. And he told me he would talk at length about how amazing that wave feels like. It's like being wrapped in a warm blanket. Just that there's this extremely euphoric feeling to the opiates, to the morphine, or in his case heroin, flooding into the body. I did not experience that, and maybe this is why I don't enjoy opiates. When I felt that wave, it felt like a wave. It felt like panic, like something. My body almost kind of like flashed, and it felt like I could feel something in my entire vascular system at once. It was like every vein in my body lit up, but it was almost like they lit up from like an electric shock and not at all from anything pleasant. And it scared me. And I said, oh, and she goes, did you get a little wave? And I was like, that was not good. And they're kind of like, oh shit, or it seemed to me that they, and they're like, well, it's going to pass, so don't worry. And it did, in fact, pass. And so I don't, they give numbers like 2 Versed or 1 Versed. I don't know what the actual quantity of the drug is. But after the wave from the opiate passed and the Versed started to kick in, it felt to me kind of like if I had taken a milligram of Xanax instead of half. And I was jabbering away. I was fully wide awake. They're doing all these things. I'm asking a million questions. I'm talking to the doctor. I'm voicing all my concerns, and he's trying to get me to calm down. And so he tells her to give me more Versed, and that took me, that sort of the second dose of Versed took the anxiety away to where I was less like nervous, but I was no less mentally active, and so I was still asking a lot of questions and kind of. And he kept kind of saying like, man, you gotta relax, and he's doing everything in his power to like, he's like, I'm gonna treat you just like you were my actual brother. Like you're gonna get the best care possible. She's trying to talk to me and keep me calm, and they're all trying to like, what felt like trying to create the most homey, friendly kind of, comfortable space so that I would kind of start to let go. That didn't happen, and so they pushed more Versed, and I don't know what the total quantity it was, but eventually they were able to get enough Versed, which is midazolam, into my system that I closed my eyes and kind of at least stop being agitated. So basically, the best that I got to was a state of I stopped fighting effectively. So I just closed my eyes and basically I just kind of start letting the procedure happen. And so I spent most of the 2 hours in there with my eyes closed, and for no other reason than there's this light, blasting in your eyes, and you're kind of effed up, and it's not pleasant, and they have to be in your mouth anyway, and it's like faces looming over you. So there's no part of you that really wants to stare at these people in their faces while they're working on you. And so they start the procedure. They start trying to numb me up, which is when we hit the second problem. He keeps injecting all of this Novocaine all over the place, and I think it was Novocaine, and it's taking a lot. Like, he keeps going back and checking and trying to start the procedure. I'm like, ow, I can still feel that. And so he kept having to, so it was basically to everything. I was supposed to be in and out of surgery in like an hour and a half. And baby, how long did the surgery end up lasting?
3.5 hours.
I ended up being there 3.5 hours. Okay. I only had like 6 teeth on the bottom. And so what was supposed to be me go in there, totally give up control, get sedated, get the teeth out, get the implants in. Turned into kind of a 3.5 hour fiasco because it just took a lot longer for them to be able to get going on my actual care. Every time he would put in like Novocaine or whatever, the local trying to numb my face up, they would have to wait for a little while for whatever particular dose he'd given to fully kick in. And so they're kind of chatting and they're doing prep and all this kind of stuff. People are coming and going from the room, and then they go to try to start working again, and then I can feel it. And so it's like, okay, we're going to give you more drugs, and then they have to wait. And so there was a situation where like they finally get to doing some actual work, and I think they got like a couple of teeth out, and then they got to a tooth. I'm imagining, I can't see. I'm just trying to recall from what I think I could feel. I had a tooth that was broken off at the gum line, and I think they were having some trouble getting that out. It felt like they hammered on it and chiseled on it and chipped on it and yanked on it. One of my teeth, it seems, was not coming out. And it was during that process that I started feeling again. And so there was like two different teeth where I kept feeling him going in with the needle, and he would like try to inject local in different places around my gum, and it wouldn't work. And then he would poke it somewhere, and I'd be like, ow, and he'd be like, okay, there, we found it. We found, I guess, the nerve, or he would finally locate the part of my body that was still feeling. This happened at least 2 or 3 times during the surgery. So it happened once that I know of when they were doing extractions, and I think twice when they were trying to do the actual drilling the holes into my jaw to be able to put the implants in. And again, so it's like stop, wait, get Novocaine, Moracaine, try to fucking find why I'm still feeling. He expressed many times like, I don't know how he can feel. I don't know how he can feel anything. Like, I've given this guy so much local, he shouldn't be able to feel anything. And it was clear that I could. It wasn't like it was being manufactured, because he would find the spot that was sensitive, and I would scream, and he'd be like, okay, well, we located it, but for whatever reason, my body was very, very, very resistant to the local anesthetic. And as I've described countless times on this channel, it just seems to be part of either my personality or my brain is just wired very bizarrely. I feel my body very acutely all over. I mean, there's no telling how much local he shot all over my face, and I was still able to feel very, very specific regions of my face that were still causing pain that he was having to try to mitigate. So there's just more evidence that I am some kind of weirdo, I guess. What was the quote that he said that he gave me enough?
He gave you the same amount he would have used to sedate a horse.
He told my wife when the surgery was finally over, he went in there and he explained why it had taken so long. She actually, I think, came out of the waiting room at some point going like, is he okay? Like, what the hell's going on? And they expressed to her that it was taking a lot longer than usual, that he'd given me more midazolam than he would have used to sedate a horse. And I'm sure that was, kind of metaphorical or kind of a tongue-in-cheek or whatever, but it took a lot. And so it took a lot of midazolam to keep me in a out of fight or flight mode, I guess, and it took an extreme amount of locals to try to be able to even perform the operation. Eventually, everything was complete. I feel like he told me, because I kept feeling everything, he basically, during the implant process, I never got completely numb. There was never a point where I was laying there in like this kind of dazed, euphoric state, and my face was totally numb, and I was at peace. That never happened. I think that's, again, he warned me out the gate that it might not. So this girl Trina, who's I don't know exactly, she's a nurse of some kind, or I don't know exactly what her. Do you know what her role is, baby? She was assisting in the entire process. She had done scans. She'd done all kinds of stuff. She's just an amazing human being. The whole time, she's like literally holding my hand. And she told me beforehand, she's like, we're not gonna be able to get you to sleep. So I'm gonna literally sit next to you and I'm gonna hold your hand. And if you get uncomfortable, you just squeeze my hand. And I remember in the very beginning when they first started doing the anesthetic, the Novocaine, when he starts putting needles all in my face down here, like, I was totally cool with that. Like, needles are nothing. I pin myself a million times a day. So I'm telling him, like, go crazy with the needles. I'm not scared of that. But they had to numb the back of my throat, I guess, to prevent my gag reflex. And when they were putting the needle up in the back top of my throat, that shit hurt. And when he started going to work back there, I started squeezing her hand. And it wasn't until after he got done and the painkiller had kicked in to the point that I was no longer in pain that I realized how long and how hard I had been squeezing her hand, because my hand was physically uncomfortable when I started letting go of hers. And so she was kind of like, wow. She said something about me being underestimating how strong I was. And again, they're just, being nice and making conversation. And so this girl through the entire procedure was either holding my hand or rubbing my arm or in some type of contact trying to help me to not fucking spaz out. And so it was really quite nice, quite lovely. I would not have gotten through that situation without her. That's for certain. I would have been a total basket case. So that's how I would kind of start to indicate silently, because obviously I can't talk. So the whole time there's gauze. My face is held open by this spreader. So if I start experiencing pain and like there's they've got you in a place where you can't really move your face around a lot, obviously, because they're drilling holes into your skeleton. And so the only way I can really communicate is through touch with her. And so she could start to feel, like she's rubbing my arm, she could start to feel me tense up. She'd grab my hand, and I would squeeze back it, and then and so then there was different points when she was conveying to the doctor, I guess, that I was breaking her hand, and he would say more midazolam. And this occurred quite a few times, to the best of my recollection. And so I'm basically got my hand, we're like holding hands so that I can communicate my level of comfort or discomfort throughout this entire process. And eventually all of the implants were put into place. I thought they ran into some kind of trouble, but again, you're like conscious, but not, like I would think I heard them say something that they might not have said. I was probably having delusions. I don't know. They seem to run into some kind of trouble on this side. I think with one of the implants, I feel like the far left implant here was sitting funny or something. I remember him telling her to send pictures immediately to the lab. So the whole time they're doing the implants, the lab is preparing to make the teeth. So I got there at 6:30. Surgery started a little after 7, and then they had my teeth already made to fit my face by like noon. The problem is, so anyway, I'll get to that in a second. So I thought that there was something wrong during the surgery. Apparently there was nothing wrong. It may have just been that an implant wasn't where they wanted it to be, or it was going to affect the fit of the prosthetic. I don't know, but there was a lot of back and forth, and I felt like he told me we're almost done like 200 times. And so I kept thinking, surely we're almost there. And to kind of draw home how out of it I was, there was a point where I thought he had already drilled all 4 implants. I had, for whatever reason, I had felt like he must have already had those done. And then he would start drilling again, and I thought I ended up with 6 implants, and I only had 4. So clearly I was not connecting everything that I was feeling with reality. And it took a lot longer than was expected, which meant that I was very, very uncomfortable for much longer than I wanted to be. The most uncomfortable thing of the whole event, honestly, was that I could not swallow like at all during the entire procedure because they numbed the back of my throat, and so I couldn't feel my throat in order to trigger the swallow reflex. And maybe due to the size of my neck, this is the first and only time that I think that people talk about like sleep apnea. They talk about the effects of bodybuilding and having a large neck, how it can cause snoring. My body kept trying to snore the entire time that I was awake, and it made me feel like I was suffocating. So like the whole 3 hours that I'm laying on the table, I'm on my back, and it felt like there was a flap, is what it felt like. It felt like my airway was collapsing, which caused more than a little panic early on and probably led to them having to use more Versed than they would have otherwise used, because I kept telling them I couldn't breathe. And so the only way I could basically feel comfortable is I couldn't, like right now, if I try to take a breath, I can feel my airway. I know that my airway is open. It felt like my airway was either completely closed or barely closed. So the only way I could mentally confirm my respiration was by focusing on my diaphragm. So I kept trying to breathe from my diaphragm, and I was basically just mouth breathing the whole time. I had some snot in my nose from this cold that I had, and for some reason I couldn't breathe through my nose, so all I could do was breathe through my mouth. I hope to God I didn't have terrible breath, because if I did, these people smelled it for 3 straight hours while I was just panting mouth breath all over this room. And the panting is the only thing that you can kind of do psychologically to try to stay in control when you're experiencing pain or discomfort. And so I'm holding this woman's hand, and I'm trying not to suffocate for 3 hours, was what it felt like. So while Dr. Al-Masri and his entire team are magicians, they're phenomenal. The work that they do is absolutely unbelievable. I'm sitting here, I'm now 22 minutes into a video, 8 hours after they pulled all my teeth out and put 4 implants and put a prosthetic in my mouth, which is just remarkable. I'm getting sidetracked. So for me, the procedure was not comfortable at all. It was not like horrible. It's just like going to the dentist. I mean, if you go to the dentist and you get a cavity drilled, you get laughing gas, you don't get midazolam, it's always conscious. And so it's not comfortable. Holding your mouth open for 3 hours is not comfortable, especially when it's being spread open. As you can imagine, having teeth pulled out is not comfortable. Having screws drilled into your face is not comfortable. None of this is comfortable, and 3 hours of it is very uncomfortable when you feel like you're suffocating the entire time. This is not to say anything negative about the doctor or the procedure. I feel supremely confident that this was wholly due to my physical state, because the previous surgery, which was much more detailed, my uppers, they had to pull far more teeth. There was a lot more going on. Apparently the uppers are more significant because there's risk of getting into the sinus, and that actually went way smoother than this procedure. I spent a good deal of the time really regretting having had done it. I felt the implants way more than I wanted to. And so when the procedure was finally finished and they pack your face full of gauze, and then they took me to the waiting room where my wife and daughter were waiting for me, and more or less you pass out for a little while, and while they make your teeth. When I started coming to, I was in a lot of pain. For some reason, despite having injected me with copious amounts of local anesthetic, the anesthetic began wearing off faster this time than I have ever experienced in life. When I made my previous videos about the All-On-4 surgery, I complained at length about how long it took for me to get the feeling in my face back. It was especially bad last time because I was numbed like nearly up to my eyes. My nose was numb, my whole upper lip was numb, your sinuses are all numb. This has just been down here, but the negative effects to the local have been next to zero. The problem with that was that the second the local started wearing off, the pain from the surgery kicked in major way. By the time I left, when I left the hospital or the clinic today, what time we finally leave? Like 2:30. We finally left around 2:30. The reason it took so long is because they had the prosthetic made very quickly, but when it was made, my bite was off. So when I would close my mouth to bite like that, I would bite, the teeth would impact this side and they wouldn't make contact with this side. So they're doing all of these fitment things to try to get everything to line up, and every time they had to send the teeth back to the lab, it felt like it was 30 minutes or more of them working on it. And then so the nurse is running around seeing all these other people, then you have to wait for her to get free again, and then she tries to put the teeth back in and it's still not right, and so then they're grinding on the acrylic. And they're making these little micro adjustments, and so the process of getting getting my bite accurate took about 2.5 hours. During this 2.5 hours, the pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I did not experience pain. And if you watch the previous series, I talked at length about how shocked I was how little pain I was in. By the time we left the hospital, and they said, look, we can give you another local and we can numb you up again before you leave, but we know you don't like the feeling of being fat-faced and the way it feels when it wears off. And so I turned down the local. They originally told me they wanted me to take Tylenol 3 or Norco, it's codeine and Tylenol. And they prescribed me codeine with Tylenol alongside ibuprofen 800, and in the past I have absolutely despised the way that codeine feels, so I didn't want to take any of the narcotics. By the time I got home after having had the Tylenol 800, I was in the worst pain that I've ever been in my life. I was in so much pain. It was like white hot pain. I couldn't think. I couldn't talk. I mean, it was like my literal mind-numbing pain. I was trying to eat ice cream because I kept feeling like I was going to vomit. I have no idea how much Zofran they injected me with during the surgery. They gave me Zofran numerous times trying to control my nausea that I kept experiencing. Anytime I take opiates, the nausea is out of control. And in fact, another thing worth mentioning that you may see in a video that my wife shot, when I started coming off the opiates, I was extremely agitated, extremely irritable, and I kept having convulsions where my legs would just start vibrating on the table uncontrollably, and it would come in waves. They would my body would just shake all over. They kept asking me if I was cold. It looked like I was just shivering or convulsing. I was totally fine. I didn't feel psychologically bad in any way. It was just like really intense shivers that you can't control. And oh my God, I'm about to run out of time here. So they were like really intense shivers that you can't control, and they would just come in waves, and it took an hour or so, maybe more, for that to completely go away as the morphine left my system. So there was that. And then once the morphine was out and the locals started wearing off, I was in just a considerable amount of pain. I got home and I got some ice cream down, trying to settle my stomach. And luckily, we have bottles and bottles of hydrocodones in this house because we've all been prescribed them multiple times. My wife and I, we never take them. And I was in so much pain. I was totally 100% regretting this experience. The last time I did it, the first day was relatively pain-free. Like, I didn't really start experiencing much pain until days 2 or 3. And I was in so much pain earlier today, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it. And so finally, I just gave in. I told my wife, I was like, I've got Zofran here on hand. Like, I would rather feel shitty from the narcotics, from the opiates, or the codeine or whatever. I can't take this pain any longer. And so she brought me some more ice cream, and I took just a little 5 milligram, like a 325 Vicodin or whatever it's called. And within like 30 minutes, the pain slowly started subsiding down to something that was manageable. And then I asked my wife if I could cuddle her, and then we both fell asleep. And I woke up, I don't even know, 30 minutes or an hour later, and the pain was completely gone. So the only way I am able to sit here and make this video right now is 8 hours post-surgery. I am 100% pain-free. Now, I mean, relative to where I was at earlier today. Earlier, it felt exactly like you would imagine if somebody drilled 4 bolts into your face. I could feel all 4 bolts, and it felt exactly like somebody had just drilled my face. It was excruciatingly painful in a way, like if you've ever been in so much pain where you're kind of just like frozen in space, like you don't want to move, you can't complete a thought, like all you can feel is the pain. That's what it was like. And I was going nuts. And when I woke up after taking the hydrocodone, all of that was gone. So like if I push on my face right here, I can feel it. It's sensitive. I don't want to do that. But as far as like the nagging, throbbing, aching, you just got your face drilled into, that is completely gone. So, I mean, I just cannot tell you from 4 hours ago till now, like the difference in my quality of life is like literally going from the brink of death to heaven. Like I was so miserably uncomfortable, and thank God, thank the Matrix, thank whatever you believe in, that 5 milligrams of codeine was able to just totally turn that around. And I'm making a now 30+ minute video talking about this experience. So that is what's happened so far. You can see the swelling has already started to take hold. I'm very puffy right here. My lip is puffy. My speech is negatively affected. I can't really like open my mouth normally. These are the teeth. I cannot tell you what it feels like to close my mouth and feel teeth touching my upper teeth all the way in the back. I have not had that in I don't know how many years. Over 10 years. So right now, for the first time in my since I was a child, I have a borderline full set of teeth. You don't actually get like all of the, like, I think the implants don't include the back 2 molars, I think. But even now that I can't use them, I can't chew them, I'm on a liquid diet, I can't use them. I'm so, now I went in a very short period of time from absolutely regretting this, thinking that this was going to be the worst experience of my life, to once again being so thankful that I did it. And as long as the codeine continues to control the pain, 3-4 days down the road, I'll be good as new, and I'll have a full set of teeth for the first time in my life, and I can't wait. So that's where we're at right now. I'm about to eat again because I've got meds coming up pretty soon, and I want to get those in my system before the pain starts coming back, because my wife read that it's with pain management, it's good to get out in front of it, to not wait till the pain starts coming on. You want to take it at like the 6-hour mark. So that's coming up pretty soon now. So I'm gonna go do that, and that's probably gonna be it for tonight. I will make a video, at least one video tomorrow, probably 2, talking about how things are going, and show you my face is gonna swell up pretty good. I think tomorrow I start methylprednisolone, which is a drug. It's a corticosteroid that's designed to, I think, reduce the swelling and inflammation. So anyway, this has gone on way longer than I expected. That is what the surgery experience was like. And the first, I've been out since, it's like 9 o'clock almost, and I've been out of the hospital since about 3. And that's where we're at. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching. For anyone who's interested in this process, stay tuned. If you are in the market for a FastNewSmile, if you are in the market for dental implant surgery, I cannot possibly recommend Dr. Al-Masri. more. I have had almost nothing but negative experiences with medical practitioners. Like I said in my previous video, lawyers. This guy, I literally trusted with my life for the second time. I don't care where in the world you are. If you can get to Dallas, Texas to get this guy to do your surgery, you will not regret it. There is no human being on earth I feel like I could more highly recommend than Dr. Al-Masri and the people at FastNewSmile. They have given me the highest level of care every single time I've been in there, and I can't thank them enough. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.